Okay, I'm gonna try this. I got my little face in here. This is a real rough thing last year making videos, so hopefully this works out well and I'm not here forever. Sometimes it takes a 10-minute video 90 minutes to compose and end up on YouTube. But hey, first video of the year, kind of like first formal lesson, I guess. I don't know what we did yesterday. I think we kind of walked around the boards and reviewed some stuff. But uh, last year, I just wanted to reference that I did do this because I did have some people yesterday. They actually solved instead of just factored, they solved. So then I thought last year, hey, let me show them the difference between factoring and then just leaving an answer and solving, which is a way different thing going on there. I get this little thing here. I don't know if you could see that. Thought that used to disappear. So anyway, I think this is one of our questions from yesterday, 16x to the fourth. Remember, good FOILers, good factors. And if this was just if this was just a factor question, then that would be the answer. And then that's it, and you're done. Okay, so some people kept going and then said x equals, and I yelled at them. I didn't yell, but I told them wrong, like ripping off a Band-Aid. No. Well, now the directions, I just thought I'd mess with you and remind you that when it does say solve, then you proceed on and use the zero product property. So yesterday, no. With those directions, yes. Now you set these equal to 0 and solve. And then this is kind of nifty. Subtract 3, divide by 4. Hey, square root of a negative is an I number. Try to remember that from yesterday. This will not be on the quiz tomorrow, like this stuff. I was just like nice to know kind of thing there. Then the cubes thing, which we had on our quizzes today. Difference of cubes. Perfect cube of 125x cubed. Perfect cube of 64. First term is this one squared. Second term is these two multiplied together. Third term is that one squared. It's a formula. Don't tell me I don't get it. You just don't have it memorized. So get it memorized. And then look underneath. Soap. That's the signs. Same. Opposite. Always positive. All right, and this works. Don't feel like going through it again. Oh, and then we did not have this yesterday in the walk around, but what if it did say solve for when x equals 0? Well, then you'd use the zero product property and get 4/5. Oh, always when you have a sum or difference of two cubes, this trinomial, yes, and quadratic will always end up being an I number. So yeah, this is like way out of, I didn't expect to do this, but I saw my work from last year and I thought, hey, this would be nice to know and go through, and then I'll get into the actual notes. So no, these are not on your notes. This was just an idea for bell work last year. And then I just came up with the quizzes this year, new to you guys. Hey, guess what this is? The quadratic formula. You will sing in my class, especially the yapper in 7th hour. That should be his punishment for tomorrow for consistently interrupting my class today. Although he was a major award winner. It's a little controversial, but here we go. The opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. When I bring up the quadratic formula in this class, I'm going to show you that song and a way to memorize it. We'll talk about this later, how to simplify. Take a look at that work. You did this last year. You should be able to figure it out. Now, I did promise my 1st hour and my 7th hour I'd go through these again. I did blank out some ones, though, that I will write in here. So square root of x equals 14. That's a distance a number is away from 0. So what numbers are 14 away from 0? 14 and negative 14. That's why you get 2 answers there. Just a rule. You learned that last year or even the year before. Whereas this one, just go ahead and look at the work and I'll verbalize it. You do have to isolate an absolute value before you do your 2 cases. So I have to subtract 7, divide by negative 3, and then now at this stage, something is 4 spaces away from 0. So this thing on the inside is 4 spaces away from 0, so that means it could equal 4 or negative 4. That's what you do. All right, and then you just solve those individually. You can check those answers. They both work. You're good. You got to be careful about this section, and that's why I have a blank over there. For square roots, whatever you do to one side, did you say do to the other? I hope you said that at home. And then whenever you square both sides, you better check your answer. But really what it is watch what happens in the second one. And hopefully that work is fine. I don't have to explain it further. This one I told my class is today that when I divide by a negative, if I just focus on this, the square root of 2x minus 4 equals negative 4. That's a physical impossibility. No matter what I plug in for x, you will never get a negative. You will get 0 or higher. So those that are really in tune with things, I should highlight that as well. I divided by a negative, so that's plus out there. So before even squaring both sides, you should know that this is no solution. There is no way you can take the square root of a number and get a negative. I know what you're thinking. That's solving an x squared. You can get plus minus. That's not the same thing. So, oh, but what if you do square both sides? Well, I get an answer. We'll go ahead and plug it in. 2 times 10 is 20. 20 minus 4 is 16. The square root of 16, I'm up here. I'm talking about this. You should know about plugging in. So again, 2 times 10, I'm plugging in 10 for x. You get 16 in there. Square root of 16 is 4. 1 minus 4 is negative 3. That's a false because this is impossible. This is an extraneous solution. I don't have the time to write that word out. Look it up on Google. All right, and then the next one. Okay, this is a monster. All right, so you got the square root of this stuff equals x plus 4. Feel free to do that sometimes because the next thing I'm going to do is, well, how do I get rid of a square root? I square. So when I shoved the notes in your face today and just had all this worked out, I then did this because I really am worried about people that just square x and square 4. What a bad math thing. I did make the joke I should kick you out of this class if you are doing silly mathematical structures in this BC major honors course. There are some unacceptable errors that you need to make sure you stop doing. All right, and then I hope I'm doing this. No, that's already wrong. 4x and 4x is 8x. Sorry, my bad, dogs. Rough. And then what happens here nicely is when I subtract the x squared from both sides, I lose the x squared. This usually doesn't happen. That's because I do have an x squared underneath here. If it was only an x underneath there, you would get two answers. More than likely, one of them would be extraneous. So I'm only stopping to make that point to make sure you understand whenever I square both sides of an equation in my solving structure, I must check my answers. There could be a bad answer in there. All right, but anyway, what's left over is pretty easy. Now I'm going to subtract 8x. And since I did that, I'm going to add 4. And you better be good with your basic skills of solving. I'm not wasting time on grade school balancing of equations and showing every single step. It's just not going to happen. Feel pretty confident, but that answer will be good, but go ahead and check it. I don't have the time to do that, but this one should be good. Well, maybe not. I could be a liar. Sorry. When there's a variable on the right side, this could cause a conundrum. So let's go ahead and do that. I plug in 10. So everything over here should equal 10. 10 squared is a hundo. 10 times 10 is a hundo. That's 2 hundo. 200 minus 4 is 196. The square root of 196 is, believe it or not, 14. It is. I got to double check that. Square root of 225 is 15. Yes, 14 minus 4 is 10. We're good to go. So yeah, sorry, with that variable over there, I should have checked. That could be an issue. All right. Then here's the end of the video. I'm at 9 minutes. I said it'd be a 10-minute video, but I did that, bell work thing from last year. Solve for B1. By the way, this is area of a trapezoid formula, if you're curious. So I have to solve for B1. That means B1, just like Mr. Samuelis, has no friends, doesn't like anyone, and wants to be by himself over on this side. So we got to go through this and think everything else is a number. We got to think of this is a number, this is a number, and this is a number, even though they can't be combined. And how do I get rid of them? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I don't like these fractions, so I'm going to multiply by 2. So now I get 2a equals h b1 plus b2. And then what do I do next? Do I subtract b2 or do I get rid of multiplication first? Those that subtract b2, I should throw you up in the air and kick you out the door. All right? Yes, I said some really harsh things today. But really, it's because you got to have your basic skills to be successful in this high-level math class. So no, you don't subtract b2 first. You divide by h. And now, if you are pretty good with stuff, you could go ahead and subtract b2 after the division, because this stuff equals b1 plus b2, and then all I have to do is subtract b2. So I do like work. I do like you showing work, but I do like you, if you are really good with your math, skipping like a step here or there and being efficient. We should really try to be efficient in our math. Mathematicians, this is why some people in the math department aren't like this, and it actually drives me nuts. But really, a mathematician and a scientist, this is why we have math language and math syntax, because we're lazy. We create formulas or symbols to shorten our work. It's really true, and so on and so forth. You'll hear me say that throughout the year. Why we have certain symbols and certain things. It's because we don't want to write all of that stuff down. What did I just do over here? What did I just show you as I was blabbering about this? I showed you about getting a common denominator in another form of this answer. So this is actually good work right here. And I think maybe you did this last year, but maybe not. We'll hit rational functions this year and how to get common denominators. The problem is the AP exam has 40 multiple choice questions. And if this was on it, it won't be. I don't think they have this concept on there. But in the future, if you have a multiple choice question, you may have this as an answer and you wrote this down. You need to recognize that this is an alternative form to it. Okay, so all I did was get a common denominator by multiplying top and bottom by h. All right, and now they have a common denominator and I put them under 1. So that's kind of a good thing to go through. That's a little bit high level. I do have to erase this now because this is in the way. You could always reverse the video and look at that again. All right, and then in class, yes, I think, I covered it in class, but it was like in the last 2 minutes, and this is a really tough question. So what I do is I focus on the variables I have to solve. What else did I say you get kicked out of my class for? Canceling these. You can never cancel a part of a binomial with something else in a numerator or denominator. This is an illegal math maneuver. You should be arrested if you do that. Okay, but what you should do, you shouldn't be arrested. I know you don't know me very well. You don't know my jokes. I don't want any calls. He said this to me. Okay, what I'm doing next is cross multiplying just to get rid of that fraction's causing me, brain damage. It's hurting my head. But now we even have a bigger conundrum. Maybe a smaller, but still a conundrum. I still have 2 n's and I got to solve for n. Remember, n is antisocial Mr. Samuelus. Does not want anyone around him. So he wants to be all by himself. Okay, so how do we have this happen? Well, the next thing is do something, not nothing. Distribute, IRN, letters, letters, letters. AI, oh gosh, AI. See AI, you get mentioned. Be nice to me when you take over the world. And then next, okay, what do I do about this? Okay, well, let me get the n's on the same side. So AI is all by itself because it destroyed the world. I'm just kidding. I'm scaring all the children. All right, Pn minus IRN. And then, okay, now I'm on the same side. And then what can I do? What are good FOILers? Please say it. You've already been trained if you said good factors. Something I said 40 times in class today. Well, at least maybe 10. And then now what I've gotten down to is I got an n all by itself. Okay, so I made a video. Feel free to pause it, reverse it, watch it slowly again. Do whatever you need to do. And then remember that thing about getting kicked out of my class because of bad math skills, arrested. There is no way in heck you should be canceling those I's. Okay, that is a binomial on the bottom. You can't take part of a binomial and cancel it with something else. Okay, so that's the final answer. That is n all by itself. Okay, I gotta hit stop because I'm really nervous how long this is gonna take to compose. Have a good day.